Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of LMS Cast. Today, I'm joined by a special guest, Chris Badgett, usually the host of the LMS Cast. We've been mixing it up a little bit. I've been doing a few interviews with Chris, and today we're going to be talking about Lifter LMS private site and how it can help you on your Lifter LMS website and what benefits it has to offer. But first, Chris, thanks for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show, Will. I'm excited to talk about helping businesses become more valuable and more frictionless.
Awesome. So I guess let's just dive into it. So the first question is what is Lifter LMS private site for people who are stumbling across this webinar, checking out Lifter LMS? They haven't checked out Lifter LMS for a while. What is Lifter LMS private site? What does that offer for LMS websites?
So Lifter LMS private site is a new add-on, a premium plugin that Lifter LMS makes. We just released it. And essentially what it does is it allows you to lock down 100% of your LMS website behind a login so that you can control what users get in. People can't access any part of your site. Even the header and the footer goes away. The menu's gone. There's just a login. And it can be used to create an internal company training portal or really any kind of e-learning website that requires 100% privacy. So Lifter already has all kinds of cool access controls and drip content and prerequisites, membership to bundle courses and all this. All that's still there. But the private site is all about just locking down a site 100%. The most common use case for that is for a business that is documenting its systems and processes and procedures so that employees can better onboard and excel in their roles.
Okay, so what happens if someone tries to view one of the course links or the page links or just visit something on the website and we have Lifter LMS private site active because we're trying to lock things down? Like, what happens when they visit via a direct link?
All they get is a login.
Okay.
That's it.
Oh, so it just completely locks down the entire website, so it's only going to be for users of the website. Like, you have to have a login in order to get in?
Yeah, it's there used to be a term, there still is a term called an intranet, like a private internet or website for a company. It's basically that, but it's on the open internet. It's just totally secured behind a login, which is good. It makes it easy for employees and team members, especially in our remote work world, to be able to log in. And we use it at Lifter LMS ourselves and have been documenting our systems and processes across things like engineering, marketing, sales, operations, customer success, and so on over the years. And over time, it's become like a super valuable resource for our company. And different people contribute to it. So it's like become part of our culture as well to basically have playbooks for our business so that we're not always just winging it, or it's, new people don't know where to go. Like we've documented a lot of things to make working here easier.
Okay, cool. And you mentioned like the concept of winging it versus having things documented. Can you speak a little bit to the benefit of documenting processes and having stuff in a playbooks and even having an intranet for your organization and what the benefits of that are?
The highest benefit probably for any business owner is it makes your company more valuable. And that's because when you sell a business, if you ever do, it's what are you selling? You're selling the assets, you're selling the intellectual property, you're selling the team that knows how to do the work and is skilled at what they do or whatever. But the whole operating system of the business, like how it works, if that's not documented, either because whoever's going to buy you is not going to buy you, or you're going to get a lot lower valuation because that acquirer knows that once they get the business, it's going to be chaotic because there's no like documented systems. And some companies, do that kind of thing in Google Docs or, in an actual physical manual or whatever. But, just modernizing that whole concept with a LMS like Lifter LMS to create an internal training site with WordPress is the way to go these days. And, you can use courses in creative ways. Like we use them to capture playbooks, and there's a course for each department But also in our private site, we have other policies and procedures. Our employee manager review system is housed in there. Our, statement of benefits and time off systems and all that is inside the private site as well. So it really becomes like a website for the company, but mostly around this idea of helping team members be successful in the work that they do.
Yeah, and I think sometimes slowing down is hard to do. Like when we're in the flow of doing our job, we have so many tasks to get done. And this applies, to course creators or really any business. Is there any thing you could say to speak to the value of taking the time to slow down and create this documentation about the processes that we do day to day? Because I think one quick thing is when new people come into an organization, a lot of times the way they learn is by shadowing somebody else in the organization, because the documentation and processes aren't created for them to learn themselves. They kind of have to just hang out with someone for a while and learn how things go. And that's kind of a disorganized way to run an organization. Is there any tips for slowing down and taking time to create this value?
Yeah, I would say just be like Nike and just do it. And I say that in jest because, it feels painful. Like when to create a playbook or document a process, you often have to get a little bit more behind in what you're doing to actually take the time to make it. But it pays dividends like tenfold in the future. In the same way, if you use a tool like Help Scout or some kind of text expander tool to make emails easier to respond to with some canned replies or whatever, you have to slow down to create those. But once you have them, you're like 10 times more efficient. It's that same kind of thing. And if, this business, Lifter LMS, is 8+ years old, and if I could do it all over again, like if I were ever to build another company, I would create the private site and the documentation or the playbooks from the very beginning. Day one, I would slow down and just have that be how we create, or the first time I wish I had one, I would make it right at that moment. So
Cool. So I mean that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. So how do you build the an internal training website with Lifter LMS with other documents inside?
Well, the first thing I would do is I would just create a website for my business with WordPress. I'd put Lifter LMS and install private site on that right away. And that would just lock it down. So I would start with that. So now I have a website that only I can see. And then I would just start adding pages and lesson content that makes sense for my business. And I like to chop a business up into departments. So marketing and sales, sometimes people put those together. Those are obvious one. Like technology or engineering is one, and customer success is one. So at a minimum, I would have 3 courses. One of them would be around like the product or service we offer. One of them would be around sales and marketing, and the third one would be around delivery or customer success. So that's the fundamental stack I would do in terms of getting started.
Cool. Is my audio still coming through?
It is. Your video is froze on me, but I can still hear you just fine.
Awesome. My Google Chrome's kind of freaking out, but it's great that you can still hear me. Well, yeah, I think that's a really great rundown of Lifter LMS private sites. And I love the term intranet. Like that's a term we used to throw around a lot with creating a private organization, internal training. And it sounds like Lifter LMS private site is a really awesome way to create an intranet system and create some internal training for your organization. What would you advise to people who are interested in creating an intranet and interested in trying out Lifter LMS private site? What should they do next? Where should they go?
I would just head on over to lifterlms.com and go ahead and get Lifter and private site and just start setting it up. If you want, you can demo it on our demo servers, the Try Lifter LMS for $1. You can kind of take it for a test drive if you want, but it does exactly what we say it does here. It locks everything down behind a login screen. So really step one is like coming up with your idea of like, what do I want to document on my private site? And like, what's my plan for creating business playbooks to make my company more valuable and make it easier for team members to work with me? You know, another benefit is the price you pay for not documenting how you do things sometimes is it makes it harder for people to work with you. So, and it makes it harder to find people that are capable of working in a business where it's chaos and nothing's documented. So, the benefits are just there. And I think like every entrepreneur, I wish I could go back in time and start from day one and do this. But the reality is most businesses I've seen back into this idea of documenting their processes and procedures after they're already in motion. So that's okay. Don't be too hard on yourself. It's not too late. Just get WordPress, get Lifter LMS, get private site, and get started today.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Chris, for joining me on this episode of the LMS Cast. And thanks everyone for listening in, and we'll see you in the next episode.